Oh, Hi, this is Horace again, and we're continuing our study in the book of Genesis, and we're in Genesis chapter 1. In the last segment, we see God creating the earth and separating the seas from the dry land, and he called forth the herbs out of the earth and the trees. And as I said, the trees were to bear fruit, and inside those fruits were seeds, and inside those seeds were trees, and inside those trees that was in the seed were more fruits with seeds in it, and it could perpetuate itself throughout time. And in other words, God designed it it's in such a way that the tree will always produce fruit after its kind. It will not produce other fruits. In other words, an apple tree will not produce pear or mangoes or apricots or peaches. Apple tree will always bear apples. Peach will always bear peach. And that's how God designed it. Okay? As you see, it does nothing to do with evolution. And if you look for yourself, all you have to do is observe. You will see the same pattern that the Bible described today in the agricultural world. If you raise oranges or apples, you will see the same thing as the Bible described. It doesn't say anything about anything being evolved from one fruit to the next. It's always the tree producing after its own kind. And the herbs also, the grass, he called forth the grass out of the earth. And the trees, that's the only time in all the world that trees grow in one day. God called it forth. And the trees gradually comes up and grow. And so the whole earth was covered with trees, with grass, with herbs, everything. It was a beautiful, beautiful scene. You know, the brown, dry earth becomes green, covered with all kinds of trees and plants and herbs. If you have been into the jungles, you will see the thickets of all these things, trees and vines and all those things filling up the spaces. Everywhere they're filling up whatever space there is, because that's how God designed it when he said, fill the earth. And so the Bible says, when God saw that creation, he called it good. And as we've said before, creation is a reflection of the nature and quality of God. And when he created the earth and the plants and the trees, you see the beauty of it all, which tells you that our God is a God who is beautiful in every way. He is awesome and beautiful. Now, in verse 14 on, it says, and I'll read it for you, and God said, let there be light in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from darkness. And God saw that it was good, and the evening and the morning were the fourth day. So now we see God creating light, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Okay? I know people ask the question, how could God created the trees and the plants and the herbs before he created the lights, the sun, the moon, and the stars? Well, remember, the first thing God called for in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, he called for light, for someone to turn the light on. It never said God created the light, as I pointed out, because God is light. God doesn't create himself. He's just shine forth. His glory just shine forth throughout the universe. All the stars in the sky, all the heavenly luminaries, as we may say, they are just a reflection of the glory of God. Okay? If you put all the stars in this infinite universe together, and the brightness of they're just a reflection of God's glory. God is more glorious than all of them put together. And so when God created light in verse 3, when he called forth light in verse 3, and now he's creating light here, the sun, moon, and the stars, you have to remember the properties of light. Again, if you studied physics, they will tell you that light is a wave and particle, photons and waves. And so when you look at the spectrum of light, you have the invisible side of light, then you have the ultraviolet, then you have the visible, and then you have the infrared. Okay? And that's all part of light. So light consists of invisible properties as well as visible properties. The visible properties that we have that make us see today are much smaller than the invisible properties. You know, the invisible, like X-ray and gamma ray and microwave and infrared and ultraviolet, all those are the invisible properties of light that we can see here with our eyes. If some animals, they can see in the dark because God made them in such a way that their eyes can see in the dark using those invisible light. We, on the other hand, we can't. We need light to see. God does not need light to see. As the book of Revelation said in chapter 1 concerning Jesus, his eyes were like fire because he could see through the dark. He could see the secret things, even the very thoughts of the hearts of men. God can see in the dark. As we have seen in Psalm 139, when David says, the light and the night are alike to him. It doesn't make any difference. So God can create the earth and the heavens, separate the seas and all those things without the light of the sun, moon, and stars. He can create all those things because he can see through them in the dark. So when it says here now that God created the lights in the heavens, and he called them forth, he commanded them to come forth, and they came forth, the sun, the moon, and the stars. You know, one of my favorite passages in the Bible is from the book of Job. And in this book, Job discussed the power of God in his creation. I'd like to take a look at, let me see what he said in chapter 26. Chapter 26 in Job. This is how he's describing the power of God. He said, "How hast thou helped him that is without power? How savest thou the arm that hath no strength? How hast thou counseled him that has no wisdom? And how hast thou plentifully declared the things as it is? To whom hast thou uttered words, and whose spirit came from thee? Dead things are formed from under the waters, and the inhabitants thereof. Hell is naked before him," that is God, "and destruction hath no covering," cannot hide itself. "He stretcheth out the north over the empty place, and hangeth the earth upon nothing." You see that? God hangs the earth on nothing. Earth is just hanging there in space. You see, the Greeks said that Atlas is the one carrying the earth. That's how intelligent they are. The Bible says, no, God hangs the earth on nothing. And then he went on to say, "He bindeth up the waters in the thick clouds, and the cloud is not rent under them. He holdeth back the face of the throne, and spreadeth his cloud upon it. He hath compass the waters with bounds until the day and night come to an end. The pillars of heaven trembled, are astonished at his reproof. He divided the sea with his power, and by his understanding he smiteth through the proud. By his spirit he has garnished the heavens. His hand hath formed the crooked serpent. Lo, these are parts of his way, but how little a portion is heard of him. But the thunder of his power, who can understand? So you see, the power of God. He spreads out the heavens by his understanding. He garnished the heavens with stars and galaxies. And no one else has the power to do that. We will continue our next study, next portion of Genesis chapter 1 concerning this part of creation. Thank you.